Hi everyone, and welcome to Job Competency Program by Infosec Train. So this is Ashish Dhyani, and today, guys, we'll be starting with the security booster part, which is for 2 days. And let me show you what we are gonna cover. So day one, that means today, we'll be learning about identity and access management. And tomorrow, which is day two, we'll be learning about incident response and digital forensics. Right now, we have heard the word identity and access management. What do you guys understand by identity and what do you understand by access? So let's start with it. Identity and access management. Two words, identity and access. So nice answers by everyone. Let's add mine in the list as well. So we have these two words, identity and access management. Now, identity will keep away the management part. We'll just talk about the identity word and the access word. We are not managing right now anything, we are not doing anything. We are just talking about the simple terms, the word that is written. Because if you will understand the meaning of that word, then it will be easier for you to understand the whole topic. Whole concept will be easier for you. So identity, if we talk about, guys, so identity is what you are, how someone can identify you. If I ask you that, like, uh, in the list there is Mr. Arvind, and how can I believe that he is Mr. Arvind? How will I believe that you are Mr. Naveen? How will you, how will I believe or anyone believe that you are Manusri? How will anyone will believe? You have to prove your identity. If you are there and like you're I'm working in some place and you want your documents to get updated or you want something from me, so first I'll check your identity, if you are the legit person or not. So how will you identify yourself? How will you tell me that you are that original person? If you will say my name is this, I will say like everyone knows this name. How will you do that? So what we have, like we have passports, right? We have emails, we have citizenship cards, right? And we also have, in India we have Aadhaar cards, right? So these types of things, if you have these types of things, so I will identify you. Yep, you are the original person, you are that person. Otherwise I will use your biometrics as well to identify you, right? So these are your biometrics. Otherwise you can get, I'll send an OTP to your phone, and that OTP will, if you are having that OTP, so you are the legit person. But what will happen if someone is saying I'm Ashish and my phone is stolen by that person? So he will be able to read that OTP. So there will be different types of identification, right? Not only one type. We'll discuss about that, but identity is what you are, how someone will identify that you are the legit person, right? If you are the legit person, how will you make that sure, and how will you make sure if someone is giving you their identity, how will you make sure that that person is telling you the truth, right? So that is identity. Then next word that we have is access. Now what your access is, what we mean by access. Access, a simple English word that means how we are able to access anything, right? like using anything, right? If I want to use the database server, so I'm accessing it. If I want to use web server, I'm accessing it, right? So that is the simple meaning of access word, right? Now, how will you tell anyone that you are accessing something or you have the privileges? So someone like your admin will give you the privileges, right? So you have the admin who will give you the privileges. So access is something like if you want to access something, you must be having privileges. If you don't have uh, a privilege, you will not be able to access the database server. That's the thing, right? And if you are eligible for that, if you are not eligible, like if you are working in an organization and you are saying that to your manager that yes, I want the access of web server, but you are a database administrator or a database engineer, why you need the access of web server? So that's the thing, right? That is your access. Now let's add the words one by one. First is identity management. If I add identity with the management, what do you guys understand by identity management? So, if I tell you about identity management, so it is what? First thing, it is a process that happens, right? Now, it is a process for doing what? It is a process for ensuring that the peoples and the employees that are working in the organization have appropriate access to technology resources, right? And it includes what? It includes identification, authentication, and authorization, right? Now, these are the three words: identification, authentication, and authorization. Of whom? Of a person to have access to applications, systems, or networks. So, if you want to access something, you must first show your identity. You must first authenticate yourself that you are the real user, right? So, identity management includes what? It includes authenticating users and telling whether they are allowed access to particular systems, right? Now, we know that identity management works with access management as well. So, we call them identity and access management systems, right? Now, identity management is focused on authentication mainly, and access management is talking about authorization, right? So, first thing, I have written something identification and authentication. So, what you do whenever you will, like, you want to open a bank account, so you will approach the bank will issue a credit card or a debit card to you, right? Now, the bank has issued a debit card to you. How that bank will verify you are the user who's using the debit card? First, there will be a 16-digit number on the debit card. That's how you will be identified. Your debit card will be identified that it is a legal and legit debit card, right? This is identification. Now, after that, what you are doing, they have identified it. Then your authentication part happens. Now, if you want to withdraw the money, enter the 4-digit PIN and take your cash, right? So identification and authentication, these two things are used as a two-step process, but they are different activities. Identification is claiming of an identity, right? So identification, if we talk about claiming of an identity, right? That I am this person. And this identification needs to occur once per authentication or the access process, right? And what authentication is to verify or prove the claimed identity. So the identity that you are claiming, if you are saying I'm Bill Gates, right? Now, if you are Bill Gates, shows the proof, shows your citizenship card, right? Shows your passport, right? So that is your authentication. Now the issue is that both are checking that such identity actually exists within the known accounts of the secure environment, and also ensuring that the human claiming the identity is legit and if he is correct or valid, right? So that is your identity management, right? Now if we talk more about it, so it enables the users to work together across domains. So if in different domains you are able to work, you just must have your identity, and you will be given the accesses, you will be given the privileges. That's a different thing. But it helps the people. Yes or no? Everyone agrees. Now, second is it helps the organizations to save money, right? And maintain control, right? So everything is under control in a less budget, right? So identity control is that if you will hire a person and that person is doing the things, so rather than doing that, we are automating the things nowadays, and now identity management is automated, right? It also does what? It eases the data management, privacy, and compliance, right? So what are compliances? Like if you are working in the organization, if you have if you are owner of the organization, so your organization must have implemented different types of compliances, right? Like we have HIPAA. So HIPAA is for what? For medical. So you cannot share the medical data of your patient with anyone outside, right? For healthcare, this is your HIPAA. Yes, Mr. Manusri, right? We have SOX, we have GDPR, different types of things. Like if you have heard about PCI DSS, it is for digital payment, right? So for payment gateway, this is the compliance. So everyone uses the compliance. Now it does what? Your identity management. It will ease the data management, the privacy, and the compliance, right? The next thing is access management. Now, what is access management? So, as we discussed about access management, what you are allowed to access, what thing you want to access, what you are allowed to access as per your job role, right? As per job role, right? Now, what you are allowed to access. right? Now the thing is, access management does what? It talks about that what type of accesses you need for fulfilling your job role, right? If you are database engineer, then you will be doing what? You will be only getting the access of database server, right? If you are a developer, so you will be getting an environment where you will be deploying the application, testing the application, right? So that if that application is working or not, and then you will be forwarding it to the other team, and then your team lead will be sharing it with any others, and then deploying it. The deployment process will happen, right? So that is access management. Now in access management, I told you for accesses we have authorization. Same thing. Now authorization is what? It is, I would say, process of giving someone the ability to access a resource. Now we are sitting in a meeting and this meeting is going on. So guys, let me know that other than me, is there anyone who can like end this meeting and close this meeting or start the recording? No, you cannot. So I am the authorized person. I have the username, I have the password. So that's why I am the authorized person. So I am given the ability to access this resource, this link as a host. So that's why I'm the host of this meeting, right? That is authorization. A very good example, one more good example will be your house ownership, right? Now, what your house ownership is, what the owner has, your owner has full access rights to the property, but he can grant other people the rights to access it. Now you say that owner will do what? Owner authorizes people to access it. Now, from this example, what we can do, accessing the house, right? I'm writing it. Accessing house is what? Is a permission, right? It is an action that you can perform on a resource. And other permissions on the house may be furnishing it, cleaning it, repairing it, etc. Now, permission becomes a privilege when it is assigned to someone. Getting my point? It's a permission that, like, I have a house. I'm permitting you to have get inside. Like welcoming you inside, and telling you that you can like stay here for a while if you are in my city, and you can stay here for a while. And now, like it's your uh thing, right? You can use everything over here. So that is the permission I have given to you. But if you will be there for a longer period of time, you will say that give this house on rent to me. So I'll be a paying guest here. So what will be happening, guys? That will be a privilege for you. So when you give permission to someone, and it's all your responsibility, right? So that is privilege. So if I'm assigning permission to you, so I'm assigning permission to furnish the house, your interior, and I'm granting all that, all the privileges, right? Now, then let's say you want to change the interiors of that house, right? So the decorator that you have hired, that decorator may ask you permission to furnish your house. And That requested permission becomes scope. That is the action that the decorator would like to perform at your house, right? So authorization is somewhat related to identity sometimes. Now think of the process of boarding a plane. You have your boarding pass that is telling that you are authorized to fly with that plane, and it is not enough for the gate agent to let you get on board. You also need your passport that is telling your identity, right? So the gate agent will do what? He will compare the name on the passport with the name on the boarding pass and let you go if they both things match. So in authorization context, if we talk about, your name is what? Your name is an attribute, right? So it is an attribute of what? Attribute of your identity. And other attributes are what? Your age, your language, your credit card, or anything else, any like Aadhaar card or citizenship card you have. And your name written on passport. So name on passport is your claim, right? That is like your declaration that is telling you have got that attribute, right? So someone reading your name on your passport can be sure of your name because they trust that the government that issued your passport, right? So that is your access management. Now where we can use the authorization, like two examples I gave you, but what else? Where else we can use the authorization? If you have that military card, if you are an ex-army person, ex-military person, you can get inside. Yep, you need a card for that. Now, every day, if you have used, like, have you guys used Google Docs? Everyone knows about Google Docs, this thing. Everyone uses it, right? It is what? It is SaaS, software as a service, right? We are allowed to use it freely and we can edit our documents. Now, let's say you created a document on Google Docs. Yep. We many times we created like many documents in Google Docs. Now that document you have created for checking, you send it to your manager. Like if there are any errors, please let me know. So your manager is authorized to create and update, delete the comment on a document. So if you are the owner of the document, you can share it with someone else and define one more access policies. So you can share your documents by letting them just add the comments. So you can give them the authorization to write something, but only the comments. Or you can give them like they can edit the things, remove the things, and update the things, right? So in this place, yeah, you, to be the editor or the viewer. If you are the editor, or you can only view that document, right? Now, what happens? The user who is given comments right by the resource owner. So what happens in that? Like, let's say the thing is, this is you, the authorized user, right? This is me, the resource owner. I'm creating a document, sharing it with you, right? So what happens? I grant you the permission, right? I'm granting the permission to you. Now, authorized user, this is the document, right? So this document is called resource, right? And this thing, what we have comment privileges only. So if this resource owner is giving the privileges, so he will be only giving the comment privileges, so only those things will be accessed by the thing, right? So that is your access management. What is identity and access management? Now, everyone, whatever I have told you, just combine that and tell me what is identity and access management. So, the thing is, guys, identity and access management, we also call it IAM in short form. It is a discipline that is making possible for the peoples or the things to use right resources. So, what are those resources? Application. If you are trying to use any application or data, right? So, it is what? It is making possible for the authorized peoples to use the resources whenever they need to without the interference using the device they want to use. Any device you can use. So, what IAM has? IAM is comprised of systems and processes, right? And these systems and processes allow the administrators to assign a single digital identity to each person, authenticate them when they log in, and authorize them to access specified resources. And then they will do what? They will monitor them and manage those identities till their life cycle, right? So that is the thing. When identity and access management was new and it was just started, so it was only for employees. But right now it's not for employees anymore. Organizations must be able to provide secure access for contractors, business partners, uh, remote and mobile users, your customers. So with the digital transformation, the identities are also assigned to your IoTs, Internet of Things, the things that we use to wake, like if we are trying to access the internet and we are trying to have some devices that are also the smart devices we call, those are IoT devices, right? To the robots, to the pieces of code like your APIs or microservices, right? So that's the thing, right? Now it stands between your user and critical enterprise assets. So identity and access management is a component of any big enterprise security program, right? Now, in identity, if we talk more about identity and access management, so what we have authentication that happens, right? We discussed about authorization, but now in detail. Now, authentication is what authenticating, right? On what basis authentication happens? That's the thing that we should know. Now, in authentication, what we have, guys, we have authentication factors. So, anyone who knows about, if we talk about the authentication factors, so first factor, something you have, and second one is something you know, right? Now, what we have, guys, something you have and something you know, these are the things that we have. And here if we talk about these things, so First thing, these are the factors on which anyone authenticates a user. First thing, right? Now, what type of authentication we have? We have multi-factor authentication, two-factor authentication. Now, two-factor authentication is a subset of multi-factor authentication. So both are one and the same thing. So if you are using more than one factor to use to authenticate a user, then it is multi-factor authentication. If you are using only two, it is called two-factor authentication. And if you are using more than two, then it is multi-factor authentication. Now, if we talk about something you have, so what you have access token, right? So we have access token, right? We have smart cards. So these are the things that you have, something you know. What is something you know? Your PIN, ATM PIN, your password, right? So these types of things that you know, that no one else knows, only you know, right? So that is one other factor. Now, what else? What are the other factors of authentication? Anyone? Something you are. It depends on your identity. What type of identity? Like your biometrics, fingerprint, iris scanner. So these biometrics is something you are, right? Next, somewhere you are or are not. So let's say, like today, what you are doing, you work in an organization. Due to COVID, there is like work from home is going on, right? Now, work from home is going on. You are doing what? You are accessing your company's network from your house, and you are working like every day. One day, what happens? There are monitoring things. So some things are there which are monitoring you. So monitoring is going on, and your logging is also going on. Now, someday, what happens? There, someone logged into your account from Singapore. That is also what? It is authentication factor. So it will, your devices will flag that thing. They will detect it. That every day this person logs in from India, but now today he's logging in from Singapore. So that is also a thing. So somewhere you are not. So your GPS location, it's also there. It can be a software, it can be a hardware, right? So your keylogger is what? Keylogger is a thing that will do what? It will log your keystrokes. Whatever keys you are pressing, it is saving that. Now, apart from it, how we can use it for authentication and in something you do. There is a typing pattern, right? So what you do, whenever you type the things, either someone types very fast, but he presses, those people press the keys very hard. Some peoples do what? They type slow and press the keys with very ease, right? So it depends for how much time you are pressing a single key, for how long, and how hard you are pressing it, right? So that is your typing pattern. So that is the authentication, something you do, right? So these are your authentication factors that happen in your identity and access management, right? Now, what other types of authentications we have? So if we talk about the other types of authentication, so we have you guys heard of this? Something with the name SSO. Correct, everyone. Single sign on. Now, what is single sign on, guys? So, single sign on is for what? For the feasibility it was created. And if we talk about the single sign on, guys, so single sign on, the things that if you want to access something, right? And inside that something, there are other things as well. So rather than typing password for everything, you will type the password, you will enter the password once and you are done, right? So that is your single sign on. Now what you are doing? Let's say mobile phone. What you do, you have lock in your mobile phone is locked, right? You enter the password like something, any password that you have, you are entering the password, and after that what happens? Your mobile phone is unlocked. You use your fingerprint, you use your facial recognition, or if you are entering pin and or any password, that's the thing, your mobile phone is unlocked. Now you can use all the applications inside it, right? So whatever applications that are there, like you have like some social media platforms, you can use the browser and search for the things. You can use calculator, you can use music, the application music for like listening to the music, and many applications. So for using all of these applications, what you are doing, you are entering your password once only. So that is your single sign on. Mr. Tejas, if we talk about this thing DigiLocker, so it is a kind of, because if you have your driving license, Aadhaar card and PAN card and many other things inside DigiLocker, your mark sheets and everything. So yes, by entering password one time, you are able to access all those things, all those documents. You don't have to enter the password every time for a single document. That can be. Now, like there are protocols for single sign on, like we have Radius, we have Takax, and we also have Kerberos. So in all of these protocols, what do we have? We have a authenticating server in between, and this is the user, and this is the place where user wants to visit. So user will talk to this authenticating server, and this server will identify and find out if this user is legit or not, and then user will be able to access this. So these are the protocols that are used in your single sign-on. Okay, clear. So let me read it for you guys once. Identity management confirms that you are you, and it stores information about you. And identity management database hold information about your identity. Now, access management does what? It uses information about your identity to determine which software suits you are allowed to access and what you are allowed to do when you access them, right? So these are the definitions of identity and access management. Next, why it is important? Now, first thing is it's secure. Security is the thing, right? We are the like into cyber security. We'll first talk in terms of security. That we have security, right? Now, why it is important? So IAM does what? IAM security is the thing. It adds an extra layer of security, right? Now, managers in the company can control which groups of employees have access to which applications, right? So have the control, right? You have the control over there. You can, like if you have malware, your device has malware installed and you got malware inside your system, so what will happen? So you can, using IAM, you can stop that as well, stop the spreading of malware, right? You can do that as well. You can do what else? You can monitor, like nowadays the things are like going on your work from home, so you can monitor the employees productivity. So you can monitor the productivity. So this is the importance, how why we need, like we want to monitor, we want security, we want to control the things, we need to know what our people's, what our employees are doing. So that is the thing. Now what I am doing, manages user identities, provisioning and deprovisioning of users, right? So if a new user is there, it will be adding the identities, or if someone is leaving, so he will be removing the identities. Authenticating the users, so using different authentication factors, that person will be authenticating the users. Authorizing the users. Authorizing the user means access, giving the accesses to any person. So on the basis of the authorization, on the basis of their job role, what job role they have, we are providing what? We are providing the authorizing of the users, right? It does reporting as well. Now, what do you guys understand by this reporting thing? Who accessed what on which day, etc. Yeah, how many times people try and authorize the access, correct? So if there is, let's say I'm trying to access, not me, this is my system, and this system is connected to my company's network, right? Now someone, there is a attacker, there is a attacker here, and that attacker is doing what? This attacker attacked my PC and got into my system, right? Now he has the access of my whole system. Now he is doing what? This attacker is trying to access some other system in the same network of the same company, but that person has more privileges than me. And this person, this attacker is trying to log in here multiple times. So that will be reported, right? So that is the thing. So report will be created of this person, that this person was trying to access the things. Then they will find out using the forensics team that what problem was there and what things happened. So that is reporting. Single sign on, everyone knows that you have a centralized, you have a centralized access, and you will be accessing the things like everything, right? And on a single go, by entering a single password a single time, you will be accessing every application inside it. So that is the thing of IAM. Now benefits of identity management: the monitoring, right? The control, management of users, correct, right? So these are some of the benefits of your identity management, right? Okay, great. Now, these are some common management steps: the identity, the authentication, authorization. These three things we discussed. Now, what is accounting? Now, accounting is what? If any incident happens. First, accounting is taking account of everything. Everything that is happening, right? Whether it is a log, whether it is something like your insufficient logging, insufficient monitoring, or whether it is your lots and lots of log on attempts, everything will be accounted, right? And after that, if after accounting as well, if there is any data theft or if there is any hack, then who will be responsible, who to hold responsible for all these things, whatever incident happens, who to hold responsible for. So that is your accounting. Backup we takes, like Mr. Tejas, we take backups in your when there is a attack like this denial of service attack, we do that. So who is accountable for that, who will be hold responsible for it, and who will be taking the next step? So incident response team will be taking every step and everything, right? So that is what, that is your accounting, right? Now we have access control types. So first we have DAC, and then we have MAC, then we have RBAC. So DAC stands for discretionary access control and mandatory access control, role based and rule based. Now, what is discretionary access control? So, if we talk about discretionary access control, so it is a type of security control that will grant or restrict object access using access policy that is determined by an object's owner or group. So, it controls and the controls of the DAC, if we talk about, so these are defined by user identification with the credentials that are sent, that are supplied, used at the time of your authentication, like your username and password. So it is discretionary. Why we call it discretionary? Because the things, the owner can transfer authenticated objects or information access to other users. So owner is determining the object's access privileges, right? Then we have mandatory access control. So what mandatory access control does? It suggests that in addition to the permissions associated with the identity, every person or every object inside the environment has its own labeled associated with it, with the object. Now, based upon your permissions granted to me, perhaps associated with my roles or group, I can only do what? I can only perform actions on tagged object. And if an explicit policy grants me access to the object, so a policy can be written based upon tags, labels, or deny me or accept me. It can, right? So that is your MAC, mandatory access control, right? So it makes decision upon labeling and then permissions. Now, role based access control is also called non discretionary. Now, non discretionary access control will give the access permission to user based on their roles within the organization by administrator who manage and administer them. So, for example, let's take rather than assigning ac- access permission to an individual who is project manager, access permissions are assigned to the project manager position, right? So if there is a new project manager, he or she will be also able to access those permissions and they will be having the same set of permissions, right? So that is non-discretionary, right? So on the basis of these things, we do what? We do the rule-based access. So if we talk about rule-based access control, so what are the rules that are written, right? Now, inside firewalls, we discussed about firewalls, like you must have read about firewalls. Inside firewalls, there are we write the rules. Now, rules are saved inside your connection state table, right? Now, inside connection state table, there are rules written, like if your device is for the company, if that rule is followed by any device, like you have a device and your device is following that rule, then you are able to send or receive the data. Otherwise, it will block every data that you will send or receive, or you cannot even connect to the network. So based on the rules that are created, you are given the access, right? So if you are following the rule, then you will be given the access. So that is your rule based access control. Now, these are the common problems with the IAM: prevalence of and easy access to personal data. Password you reuse is the solution. Multi-factor authentication is also the solution. Cloud applications. So you cannot have like IAM can do work in a cloud application, but it is difficult to deploy that over there. And lack of centralized authoritative IAM repository. So you don't have anything centralized in IAM. You are working with the identity at somewhere else, with the access control somewhere else, and then you are like merging all those things and then providing the identity and access management controls and all the access controls that you are providing. So that these are the common problems and the solutions that are related to your IAM.